Welcome to White's Farm Report, brought to you by Case IH, where you can rethink productivity, and by White's Farm Supply, serving the farming community since 1946. Welcome to today's show. You're in for a special treat. We're here today at CNH Training Center in New Holland, Pennsylvania, where we're learning everything new about Case. Joining me right now is Shamariah Orozco. And Shamariah, I tell you what, we're dealing with technology here, and some people go, yikes. But you know what? There's no fear there because you guys have really broken it down into easy steps. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to show us?
Yeah, so the really nice thing about the Pro 1200 display or IntelliView 4 for anybody that is on the New Holland side is that it is an Android-based operating system. So Android phones are the alternative to iPhones. So it runs very similar to a smartphone. So we tried to make it very usable and have great ease of access.
Well, I tell you what, you've had some success knocking it out of the park this afternoon. A lot of smiles here. Tell us what we have.
Many of the things they're commonly asked to do is to create a grower, a farm, and a field, which is the place where we store our swath. So our swath is the line our tractor is going to follow. So I'm just going to show you kind of the steps that we need to take to get that done so that we can calculate the swath.
Awesome.
So the first step that we want to do is we will have a splash screen that is similar to this. When we are in this screen, we have a top column at the top, and we are going to go ahead and jump in here to what looks like a silo. When we click on the silo screen, this is going to give us the ability to add a grower, a farm, a field. All three of those are required to be able to get that swath. So let's go ahead and we're going to drop this down. We just basically press the line item and we're going to go ahead and press add new. From there, we're going to just add a grower. I'm just going to, for the sake of illustration, type test, something very generic. Next, we are going to add a farm. So now that we've created a new grower, there's nothing underneath it. We need to create that second file structure so that we can store that swath. We're going to press that down arrow and press add new. Anytime you see a down arrow in the Pro 1200, it does indicate that there are other options underneath it. So that is a good thing to know about this display.
Very good.
And then we're going to go over here to field, press add new on that one. And I'm just going to make these all test. Obviously, in the normal circumstance, you will have a grower that's going to have his own very specific names, but that's going to be our step one. So after we have that grower situated, grower and farm and field, our next step to create that swath is we need something to calculate it off of. So anytime we're running a tractor, we have an implement. The implement will have a measurement, and that is how the swath is created. So it can follow line by line through the field. So next step on our journey to creating a swath is we're going to create that implement. So the way that you do that, again, top column up here, you will go into the what I call tiles icon. Once you're into the tiles icon, you're going to press this button that says implement. So pretty cut and dry on that side. So for this example, we are going to create a planter for the sake of illustration. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down and press add new. Once I press add new, I'm just going to make a generic name of planter. You can make this name whatever you prefer it to be, so it's significant for your situation or for the grower situation. And then I'm going to select planting as my implement operation because, again, this is a planter. Implement type is going to be planter. I'm going to select a make. Going to add new. And I'm going to say 1255 is my planter model and press save. The second step in creating an implement is after we've created the name that it's going to be stored under and all of the information accordingly, it'll give us a screen where it's loading. We are going to press on measurements. The reason, again, measurements is so important is because that is how our swaths are calculated. So a couple things that are key in here is going to be our bar distance. Our bar distance, as you can see, is from here in the picture down to the seed drop point. So it's making contact with the ground. That's going to help our system control the tractor to pull that implement behind it correctly. As you can see, we've got a 3-point trailing. So I'm going to set a bar distance. I'm just going to throw a number in there for the sake of example. And then what I will do is, because we have a planter, I'm going to say this is a 12-row planter and I have 30-inch spacing. Once you type in your number of rows and your width, you will get a implement width automatically because it is multiplying those two together. If there is a situation where you have a lower correction and you need to set more space to be able to skip or overlap, you will turn this on and you will set that accordingly. So that is if, let's say you're running WAS, so that's a low correction, and you want to offset the drift that it has, you may set something like this so there's a little overlap. Planter is a really bad example for that because it is row crop, but a tillage implement is a very good example of that because tillage doesn't matter if you overlap.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut that off for now. We're going to leave it as is. Now that we have our measurements, we are able to set our swath. So again, 2 requirements, grower farm field, and we need to have an implement with measurements. This is one of the very forgotten pieces of information to enter when we're doing this information. So from here, I'm going to jump over to my run 6. That'll just be here at the bottom. And this is going to primarily be my guidance screen. So you'll see some guidance function across the side here, and you will see some information here. If your grower has customized his run screen, it might be on a different screen, but you can always adjust your layout if you need to by pressing and holding this one of these buttons at the bottom. Now I'm not going to edit, but this is how you would get into edit mode, just so you're aware. So I'm going to go ahead and press no there. And now from here, this button is going to be how we create our swath. So if you're in a situation, you're doing a field startup for a grower, and he has now created his grower farm field and implement, now we are to the swath creation point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press this button here. A couple different options we have for swath. So straight, we would set an A point and a B point, and it'll shoot a straight line. Heading, we would go in here to heading, and we could see our current heading. So if we wanted to set a line based off the way our tractor is pointed right now, we would just press apply and go from there. If we wanted to type in a heading, we would go here, and let's say we want a heading of 180 degrees, and then we would press apply, and it would immediately create our line. We also have a couple different lines. For the sake of example, we're going to go with a straight line because that's going to be one of the most common. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drive the machine quick. Get my gears up here. All right, so we're just gonna get some open space quick. All right, so once I get straightened out here, go ahead and shoot a straight swath. You'll want to make sure first and foremost that your satellite shows green because that means your correction is ready to do its job. If that is not green, you will need to address that from that point forward. We're going to go ahead and we're going to press the play button on here, and we can go ahead and press record. Once we start recording, you'll see that it drops an A point automatically for us. So we have now dropped the starting point of our swath, and we are going to go. We have to at least go 40 feet and then press B. Once we go from there, we have our AB line, and we are able to engage after we accept the liability agreement. So now we are currently engaged on the line. You'll see the auto has that green check, and it is good to go. To disengage, it is as easy as pulling the wheel, and then we can turn around and engage on our next swath. Notice that it's highlighting the current swath, Now it's saying, if I turn around, this highlighted swath is the one I'm going to engage on. Want to be a little bit careful. These are some tight swaths that I created because of the width that I put in. So most of the time it's going to be a wider turn that you have, but your turn radius comes into play at certain points. There are times when it cannot keep up with the current radius that you have. So we can speed up.
So you really have made it very easy for anybody to be able to learn this in a quick method.
Absolutely. And again, there's a lot more to the display that we can talk about, but these are going to be some primary functions that sales individuals are going to be asked about when they are in a field startup situation with a grower.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate this.
No, happy to do it.
White's Farm Supply has some important dates this year. 80 years of serving farmers who keep this land sincere. From fields of green to harvest gold, through seasons tried and true, upstate New York has stood with us, and we stand strong with you. We're also celebrating a nation bold and free. 250 years of strength and liberty. Horse-drawn plows of yesterday to tractors rolling strong. Farming then and farming now, the legend carries on. Happy 80th birthday, White's Farm Supply, and happy 250th birthday, America. You all log on to whitesfarmsupply.com and let's celebrate.
An economist, a mechanic, a meteorologist, an agronomist, an accountant, and of course, you, the farmer. At White's Farm Supply, we know that every season you put every skill to work planning all year, every year, to get the yield you need. And once harvest begins, you need a combine that's big enough for the task. That's why we believe the AF11 has been built for maximized capacity and throughput, allowing you to cover more acres in less time. With a 567 bushel grain tank that empties at an unload rate of up to 6 bushels per second, a 775 horsepower engine, with a larger fuel tank to get more done and extend your time in the field, and larger cleaning and grain handling systems designed to handle maximum crop flow from header to spreader. The AF11 has also been designed to maximize productivity and efficiency. Harvest Command Combine automation makes it easy to optimize machine settings in real time, and that includes enhanced automated cleaning and new residue system features to drive profitability. With built-in connected technology, monitor and track your equipment from anywhere, share machine information and diagnostics, and even view the display remotely to keep you up and running when it matters most. And through larger tablet-like dual Pro 1200 displays, take a high-depth look into every aspect of your harvest, unlike anything you've experienced before, for easier access to service points, simplify maintenance, minimizing harvest labor expenses, and maximizing time in the field. The bottom line benefits from this combine are unmatched. All these features make the AF11 more than just the biggest combine out there. It's everything you need to take control of the field and get more done. At White's Farm Supply, we know that you need equipment that's as good as you are. You need the most capacity in your field, the best technology in your field, and the most reliability in your field. That's why White's Farm Supply has been serving the farming community's needs since 1946.
So when we look at the front of the new AF series, like we saw inside, when you look at the front of the machine, first thing you'll note, feeder faceplate, our picture frame here, it's the same as it would be on a 260 or a 160 series machine. So as far as hooking up to heads, you do not have to go and buy all new heads to mate up to the front of this. Going along that lines, we've gone to our slide pins instead of our J hooks. New heads are being built automatically with provisions for those slide pins. And we do have kits to retrofit this slide pin system onto current heads. So if you have a customer that's just interested in looking at the AF but doesn't want to upgrade his heads, we have the ability to mount that head on the machine still. So looking on the left-hand side, our hookups are still the same as far as our hydraulics, so still our single point hookups and our electrical hookup. Over on this side would be the handle for your slide pin, or instead of our J hook. We have our little safety release here, and then that would be your locked, and that would be your unlocked. So again, still our same hookups. Lateral tilt cylinders, more or less same configuration as what you'd see on 260 series. And like we mentioned, the big change would be for aft tilt. You no longer see your cylinders mounted on the top. We have them mounted underneath, down in line with the main feeder lift cylinders. Again, that is for weight transfer, and also allows us to not have to build a bunch of extra structure to the top of the feeder house to facilitate those cylinders. And then last, like we discussed, big change would be the relocation of our lateral tilt pivot from the top to the bottom, which gives us still full width feeding when we pivot that faceplate, so we do not cut off any of our internal capacity on that feeder house. Looking towards the back here, the shield's in the way, but right behind this side would be where you would see that synchronized feed system gearbox. So that is what is hooked to the front of the left-hand rotor on an AF11, or would just be hooked to the front of the rotor on an AF9 or 10. And that is what will drive that synchronized feed system. So again, synchronized to the speed of the rotors to ensure that we are matching the capacity of those rotors with our feeding speed, and also acts as our rock trap as well. So still have a rock trap sump. We have manual dump. We also have the option for in-cab dump of that rock trap sump. So on the right-hand side, if you had the automatic or in-cab dump, you would see just a little cylinder on the right-hand side here that you can open and close. It has a clean out procedure that will essentially automatically open that door, clap it a couple times, open and close, just so you can knock out all of the debris that might be accumulated in that rock trap. With the introduction of that synchronized feed system, it does not change anything as far as a feeder or rotor reversing capability. So with those CVTs, we still do have feeder and rotor reversing capabilities like we do today. That synchronized feed system reverses with the rest of your rotor reversing. Did not lose any functionality from 260 series to the AFs when it comes to the introduction of that synchronized feed system. Looking at the tracks, talked about it briefly inside. So this is the C&H suspended track system. So Case IH has coined it the active track. So it is hydraulically suspended, and it will automatically adjust for ride height compensation as well. So that's done through a couple sensors in the hydraulic cylinders to maintain ride height as that grain tank gets filled, as the combine gets heavier, or as you unload and the combine gets lighter. It will automatically adjust the pressure in those cylinders to maintain a center of stroke. So you always have kind of your optimal ride height and suspension on the tracks. So no ATI offering for 260s or the AFs. This is the same track for both. With the relocation of the cooling pack to directly behind the grain tank, we've moved our air filter to the left-hand side. We've also done away with our exhaust gas aspiration for that filter. We now have a belt-driven aspirator that's driven whenever that machine's running to help aspirate those filters to keep them clean. You'll see it down here, it's behind this shield. Key thing with that is because it's mechanically driven, it's always working. Issue we run into with that exhaust gas for the aspirator is when that machine's idling, it's not drawing enough air to aspirate. And then also those aspirator tubes can get plugged up. So with the mechanical aspirator, it helps be a lot more effective of a system, help keep them filters cleaner longer.
Welcome back. Well, if you're looking for the peak in regards to efficiency when it comes to harvesting, look no further than Case IH. We're here at White's Farm Supply at the Canastota store. And joining me right now is Nathan Graham. And Nathan, we just went through some training on this beautiful machine behind us here. And this is really going to aid the man out in the field. Even if he's a seasoned man, he's really going to enjoy what you'll be able to do here. Is that right?
That is correct. What we have behind us is Case IH's Axial Flow Combine, our new 250 series that features Harvest Command, which is a combine automated system. So it takes a lot of the major functions that an operator would normally do in the field and automates them. Now, the operator does have an opportunity to fine-tune those systems for their operation, their field, their state, so it does help them out quite a bit. We've really had a lot of good experiences in the field with them so far. We've been with about 20 machines this year, and we've been able to get down to less than 1/10 of a bushel loss in the wheat field, so that is a good thing.
That is amazing. And it's almost like Case IH decided to design this specifically for upstate New York, where it's not flat. We got ups and hills and angles, but this will accommodate it all to make sure we get everything we need and be quite efficient. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we go through, the operator can fine-tune the system. We can make the system more relaxed or more nimble based on the crop that's in front of them. It knows what crop you're harvesting by what you put in. Let's say we're harvesting corn, and even if you don't have a great year or you have moisture issues during the year, drought, our corn can really vary from place to place in the field, and we can have our Harvest Command system be nimble enough that when it sees that variation in the yield, that it makes the proper adjustments to keep as much grain in the tank as possible.
So if we're doing 80 on the hilltop and maybe 150 in the valleys, it will adjust quickly.
Yes, it will, and the operator has full authority of how quickly this machine will adjust. But yes, you are correct. We do control all the major functions inside of the combine as far as threshing and separating and cleaning. On top of that, we also control the speed. So we can, if we get to those situations, hilltops and valleys or swales in a field where it might be a little wetter, the combine will very quickly adjust speed to keep a uniform crop flow coming into the machine for optimal threshing, separating, and cleaning.
Now, as I understand, to accomplish that, you have 16 separate sensors on this that will kind of act as a brain to adjust where you want it to be so you can dial it in specific for your location.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that 16. I always mention that we have 16 sensors because it does tend to give people a little bit of pause. But then we very easily go through what sensors are actually running it, and folks, and I go through the list of the sensors, and folks are actually like, oh, well, I've always had that sensor. And I said, yes, we're using a lot of what you already have on your combine. For example, sieve actuators to open and close your sieves, pre-sieve, upper sieve, lower sieve. There's 3 sensors right there. Our rotor speed. We do have a couple new ones, those being the sieve pressure sensors on the rear of the combine, our cage vanes, which are on top of the cage, which allow us to speed or slow down the crop mat going through the machine. And then the true meat and potatoes of the system is our camera. So we're actually taking pictures of the grain as it goes up the clean grain elevator, so we can see grain quality. We can see material other than grain, which really helps us clean up our sample, which we've always been known for as having an extremely clean sample.
And the number of variables that this can adjust from goes beyond just crop yield. I mean, if we have a big hurricane moving up the East Coast and we want to get out there and put it all away fast, it'll accommodate that as well.
You're exactly right. The designers at Case IH really thought this one through in a very simplistic way, very intuitive to the operator, but they can pick how they want the combine to perform. So we actually have 4 strategies that we can use. Most folks are going to be in the performance strategy, and I say most folks, it'll probably be about 96% of people will be in a performance strategy. These guys are going to be looking for their losses to be king of the day. They don't want grain on the ground. They want it in their pocketbook. So we'll look at our rotor loss and sieve loss sensors to kind of command the day. We also have a best grain quality setting, which will take our camera into account. It does not get rid of rotor and sieve losses, but it will look at the camera first and make sure that we really have a nice clean sample. We have undamaged grains before it looks at the other aspects of the machine or other parameters of the machine. Then we have a maximum throughput, which you alluded to. If we have storms coming or we have adverse weather in any respect coming and they need to get in and out of the field quickly, we do have a maximum throughput mode, which will run as much as the combine will run through the field, up to 120% engine power. So really asking for all that our FPT engine has to offer to get it through. It will then look at our losses a little later down the line, but what it's going for is speed and productivity in the field. And then our last one is fixed throughput, and this is for the guy who generally sees his combine sitting in the field for a half an hour waiting on trucks. We can actually use the fixed throughput mode, let's say 2,000 bushels an hour, because that's what the gentleman can get out of the field. That's what the grain dryer can take at any given time. So we can actually set the machine to run that 2,000 bushels an hour. So his operator doesn't race through for the first 20 minutes to sit for the next 40 minutes waiting on trucks. So it does give the operator, the customer, a lot of variation. Although it is an automated system, the customer has a lot of say in how that machine runs and works in his crops.
Well, you know, even for a seasoned combine operator, it can be very challenging, and this is just another very powerful tool to make them efficient to be able to get the job done.
Absolutely. I see some pushback from some of the guys that really know their machines, and they're like, you know, I know my machine just fine. I don't need an automated combine. And I do caution those guys that although your good operator is going to make 6 to 8 major adjustments throughout the day, and they do a fine job at it, this machine can make an adjustment every minute, every pass, so it's going to get those little nuances that maybe the seasoned operator might have missed. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention that 2 or 3 weeks into harvest time, at 11 o'clock at night, having to fill that last hopper bottom just to be out the very next day, you're probably a lot less in tune, whereas Harvest Command will not get tired, whether it be 9 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night, whether it be the first day of harvest or the 31st day of harvest, it will run the same.
Well, I tell you what, a very powerful tool for all of you out there who would like to take a look at automation. You can log on to the White's website, whitesfarmsupply.com. And Nathan, I want to thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us today for White's Farm Report. If you'd like more details on anything that you saw today, feel free to contact any one of our 6 convenient locations, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week for White's Farm Report.